All good. Thank you. I don't know if it's recording. So, do you want to talk about your, okay, so, yeah, maybe I'll just, normally with a closing conversation, I have just a few questions for you to think about and reflect on the journey that we've been through. And that's how the conversation normally goes, but because you have your action plan, I don't know if you want, do you want to discuss that at all, or are you okay with it?
We wish to discuss it.
You want to discuss it. So do you want to project it?
If possible, yes.
I think they should be able, we should be able to project from,
You should join the meeting.
or you'll have to,
But you can also, I can also give you the equipment.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, we don't need
nobody's joining online.
no. And have you heard anything from Rebecca
Today?
since she travelled?
No.
She's enjoying Indonesia. She's forgotten about Tanzania. And is your plan? Does it?
Here. Do you?
Does your plan feel similar to the ones you saw today, or is it quite different? Or?
It's but we have a different Namibian succession plan.
Yeah, different
point,
focus.
Which has not been mentioned maybe with the rest of the groups today.
And also maybe to consider what Christine shared about less is more.
Yeah.
I
I think
don't know.
it's having very few things. It's not
Yeah.
quite.
You have not very many things. Yeah. But what I understand is that the hope is that you put a budget in and you submit it to Melissa, and the hope is that you'll get some funding.
No.
We hadn't submitted to Melissa.
But you
No,
can.
by the end of by the end of Wednesday, by the time you leave,
Yeah.
they want it submitted.
Yeah,
Okay.
that we can have it.
Yeah, with a budget.
Yes.
So what do you want from me, from sharing it?
I think just sharing with you, for you to give a perspective in terms of if we've captured all the required elements.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to get your view before we present to the general and share with the rest.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is it. Very short.
Are you going to share it in the spreadsheet, or are you going to put it in a PowerPoint?
I think we are okay with the Excel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll find another way. So that
We'll put it on PowerPoint.
Yes.
or at a Word document would be better than this one.
Yeah, anything but Excel, I think.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay,
not
I think we came up with this nature of presentation because we adopted the template that were shared.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true actually.
Yeah,
Because
so-
it looks similar to one of the other organisations had one looking a bit like
The one
this.
with the mission.
Yeah.
We will put it in a Word or
Mm.
PowerPoint presentation.
Fine.
So
I can't see. Can you?
expand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was nice, the group that shared, it was the third group, or was it, the Action Foundation. She just shared a little bit about their work at the beginning, because you have 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Who's presenting, or have you not decided?
We have
Potentially Esther.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe just share, you know, like 2 minutes on what Msichana is, or what you're trying to change in the world. Maybe.
Yeah.
We can add that. Yes.
And then my understanding is that this should be building on what you've learned through this program, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you have 2 objectives.
Yeah, so we have 2 objectives. The first objective builds up to what we've been doing as the management training on attaining the way of an open and candid ego. So what we wanted to do with this, it has a result area on understanding our enneagram types and how we show up as a team, and how to help each other show up better. So we thought what we learned through enneagram, how we understood each other, and how we saw how we show up individually and as a team, we wanted to pass it down to other staff team members. So that is one of the key result areas, passing it down to other staff members, where the first action point is to conduct the enneagram test exercise to all staff by December 2024. And then after we conduct the enneagram type, and after we have identified our types and what they mean, we'll facilitate 3 sessions that will explain the types, how staff should show up better in their types, and how we can respond to situations while dealing with others.
Yeah.
And that should be done by March 2025. We kept a budget and the other column where we kept them in USD, so it will be $900 US dollars.
So I don't. You won't need this detail then, but I'm just thinking, who is going to how are you going to pay for the tests, and who is going to facilitate those 3 sessions?
So we hope, as our previous colleagues asked, that if we can get facilitation from the coaches and from the program. So that is our initial plan. We hope to be part of that facilitation.
Yeah.
For example, with obtaining the link, the results of the enneagram test, we hope to obtain from Collective Rising. Also the sessions, we hope to get coaches to explain that. But because we're also taught on that, we'll be doing behind the scene at the offices, enhancing what the coaches or what someone who will be set aside to explain this will enhance with the knowledge that we have obtained from the program.
Okay. That looks fine.
Okay.
And I think that the budget maybe you might need to just ask Melissa or Joyce what, 'cause I didn't quite understand what Joyce said today about Enneagram, whether she wants to put it on for everybody's staff, or I don't know, it wasn't quite clear to me.
Okay, so our thinking before Joyce's sharing about the
Yeah.
course of Enneagram test was with that one we'll only cover facilitating us for us to come together, because we have like 3 different offices. So our thinking was for us to come together, then we can have a coach, and that budget had to be added there according to how the coaches are being paid.
Okay.
And the coach will just highlight general, like how Jason did, like, but this is how the one shows, but the one-on-one conversation, we as management team can do that because you have attended several sessions. But now with Action 1, possibly you can add that amount, because Joyce has shared it is 60 per head,
Person.
60 USD per person. So we can add that amount there because we know the number of our staff who needs to go through that test.
Yeah.
However, the budget for the coach to do that possibly Melissa can do.
Yeah.
Okay, I will check with Melissa on the numbers. So the other action plan with this is facilitate a collective meeting within our NEGRAP groups. That is, they identified the types that will be identified to discuss what we are learning, building upon this learning and build upon this learning and determine the next steps.
Yeah.
Design a practice together twice a month for the team members to do. So like the practices that we've been having with regards to our Enneagram types, how we show up as leaders. So we will design the practices depending on the results that we'll be getting. So for all the staff to practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first key result area, just to get a general understanding of our Enneagram types. The second key result area and the objective is to facilitate team understanding to all staff on core leadership issues that they would like to focus on for the period of 6 months. So this, for just clarity, is like just the one we've been having here, the difficult conversations, how to handle, how to give and receive difficult conversation. So we wanted for the team members to sit down and to identify what is one result area that would like to practice and nurture and show up better. So we didn't want to impose on the team members maybe on the difficult conversation. It could be something else that they want to show up with. So that was the second key result area. And the action point was to facilitate all staff to conduct a reflection exercise on team's way of operating and identify core issues in the current way of showing up that they would like to tackle to attain a new way of showing up by February 2025. Yeah. And then we had action item number 5, which is to conduct a 3 months program developing the new way of being. This will include practices that will be designed to develop a new muscle that the team need to live in alignment with our new way of being identified. And then we'll conduct a closing reflection session to discuss what the journey meant, what was successful, and what we need to work on more beyond the program to attain a new way of operation by May 2025. So the second objective.
So does this have a budget?
Yeah, they all have a budget.
Okay, fine. So what's going on in my mind as you share these things is this will take a lot of management staff time to make it happen.
Yes.
You know, like really being able to facilitate a reflection session, come up with a current way of being, and a new way of being. It's quite a lot of thinking that you have to do, or planning that you have to do, and analysis, like how. I'm just as coaches, we were trained in, how do you come up with a current way of being and a new way of being, and it's, and you look at lots of different things that you see within the person in front of you or the team in front of you. So I'm not sure that we've given you the capacity to manage to do that yourselves.
So our thinking was we are not the one who are going to do that, but we could only identify the area, the current way of being for the team. So let's say they could say we want to see financial. Let's say we're struggling with individual finances.
Yeah.
Then we could identify an expert in the ecosystem who is good at that to take through the team in the next 6 months.
Okay, so I think I'm a bit wary of you using the language of the current way and the new way, because that's we were trained as integral coaches, and that language is very linked to that training. So, and not that it's it's not copyrighted or anything, but it makes me think, wow, there's a lot you would have to do. But how you've just explained, like identify, I think you've got it in the first one, a leadership issue that they would like So personally, I think it would be better if you keep to that language, like identify a leadership issue that they want to work on, and then your first action would be identify the expertise you need in Tanzania or in the region or wherever, who could help you support them through a training program or a series of meetings or however you want to do it, however you think it would be best to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to use that kind of language, that if you're using the current way and the new way, I think just keep that to what you've done here, because otherwise you might get yourselves in a tangle as well. If you're like trying to think, oh, what is the new way? And you know, we did a lot of training to be able to come up with current ways and new ways, and I feel like you might trip yourselves over trying to replicate what we've done.
Makes perfect sense.
It does it okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So just change the language a bit.
Okay, sure.
Because you have expertise for things like financial planning or I don't know, difficult conversations. You can find those things, the resources within Tanzania and or online.
Okay.
Francis, you're looking tired.
No, I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, okay.
And also, I don't disagree with what you are saying.
Okay.
So the second objective is to sustain organizational work through a collaborative succession plan process. And the key result area is to sustain our organizational work through a collaborative succession plan process.
Yeah.
Okay, I just noted the sentences are the same. The objective and the key results. I think it's an area we need to look
Okay.
at.
I'm never so keen on those things, but you are, Francis, so you can.
Yeah. So
let me just, is the succession plan in preparation for Rebecca leaving sometime soon, or is it a succession plan for every position, or?
So
It's both.
it's both, but it's general. We are looking at it as anyone living, and it's not necessarily living, but any circumstance that will make someone step up or take another person's position in the meantime, or if it's permanently.
Yeah.
So it's either maybe the executive director maybe stepping out and someone else filling the chair, but it might be Francis going on a 2 months leave and someone has to step in his role. It might be a junior staff on leave on maternity and someone has to. So we're just trying to incorporate all that to ensure that we are all aware of the organization goals, we are all aware, or at least of each other's roles, and how we can each show up and step up into each other's roles in case
and maybe having very open conversations about which role you would or you definitely wouldn't want to take on.
Yes.
That's really interesting. I think you'll have a great time trying to work that one out. Because maternity leave is, for your kind of organization, and paternity leave is always going to be a thing. Because you're young and you're having children.
We're excited.
Yes. So you have to really allow that to happen. I mean, that has to happen. And yet it can interfere. You have to make it as smooth as possible for the person who's going on leave and the person who takes over, and seeing that as an opportunity. So then in some ways it's not succession planning, it's succession planning and what would the word be, like how would you, like, if you're trying to plan for things that change in your staff, that, I mean, You could even say succession planning and
Change management.
no, how to manage maternity, paternity leave. Because how long do people go for? 6 months?
3 months
3 months.
full and 3 months half day.
Yeah, so 6 months. So I don't know how you would say it in good
filling
English.
out of the office, filling out of office vacancy.
Temporary change. How would you say it? It's like, how do you accommodate staff long term? You wouldn't call them absences, like a maternity leave. Well, would you say maybe just long term leaves? Because do you ever have people who go on long term sick leave, for instance? Have you ever had that?
No, but we had an incident where one of the staff went for studying, which was about 1 or 2 years. However, later on she changed the plan. She didn't want to come back.
Yeah. So
But if she were to come back, she would be away for like more than 1 year out of the
Yeah.
office and would rejoin the office back.
yeah.
So during that time, someone has to act that position. So that should also be
So
incorporated in this
maybe
plan.
just within the results bit, just have an explanation of like maternity, paternity leave, study leave. You know, you might have sabbaticals. You know, if somebody's been in your organisation for 10 years, then you give them time. You know, so it's all about looking after your people and looking after your organisation, so that you're not caught short when somebody has a leave opportunity that would help them grow.
So the action plan was to develop and approve an organization succession plan. This involves recruitment of a consultant to develop and validate the plan.
Yeah.
And the second action plan is to conduct a capacity needs assessment to staff in different levels and departments to identify the skills each staff has in relation to their work in the organization, their capacity to deliver the skills, understanding on the other roles in the organization, and the gaps in the above areas in order to develop a plan on how to equip the staff with relevant skill sets and experiences.
Yeah, and I think, within that there's something around looking at your internal capacity, so the internal capacity that's already there, and when you might need to look for external capacities, so when you need to recruit, or and maybe your organisation has a policy like you always look, when there's a vacancy, you always look internally first. I don't know if that you might have that in a policy already, or you don't.
I think this.
But those are things you could just
It's not written,
yes,
but
but
practice.
yeah. So you
written
might
in the
decide
plan.
that you want it written because that's part of your organisational culture, and you're giving opportunities to people to grow within the organisation. Because I imagine some of the people you recruit in more junior positions are quite young and inexperienced, but maybe you're recruiting them because they have potential as well. So what I would also suggest is that don't be shy with the budgeting. Make sure that you put in enough money for you to be able to do it. Because the thing about this is like, who is going to implement it? Like, who out of your management team is going to take responsibility for this, knowing through the work we've done together how busy you all are? Like, really, is any one of you going to say, oh yes, please add that to my job description? I don't think so. So how are you going to manage to do it? So you could bring someone in for a certain amount of time, or you can get consultants to do it, but somebody has to manage the consultants. And I did some work recently when I was managing consultants, and I realised how much work that is. So I think just be really careful about that. Like, I think, was it Joyce who said it, or Christine? Don't just give yourself more work without making sure you have the time and the space. So it might be that if one of you did take it on, then somebody else has to take on some of your work. That might be a way of, and that might be an opportunity for that person as part of your succession planning. Do you see what I mean? So if ever you're feeling like, I'm going to get squeezed by this, you must have a discussion about it. And say, this is just another burden for me. And I think now you're having more conversations where you're able to say that, rather than just, oh yeah, I'll do it. You can't work like that. You'll all be burnt out by your mid-30s. I don't know how old you are now. Cindy,
Yeah.
That's true.
so you have to keep, I can't impress on you enough how important it is to avoid burnout. Because I've seen too many women of my generation, I know we're much older than you, but we all have gone through it, are going through it, and it's not necessary. But it means you have to make sure your organization invests in you, pays you well, doesn't expect you to work beyond what it pays you to do, and when you're becoming overburdened, you look for more staff. You say, we have to get more staff in. Because you can't have everyone being overstretched.
It's true.
True.
Very true.
And I think Rebecca also understands that, but I think you all understand it here, but actually making it happen. So where's the funding coming from to bring in a new staff member who then gets trained and what, or, you know, how do we make things, I don't know, how does that sound?
That's quite critical.
Yeah.
Quite critical and important to reflect on.
Yeah, and you can work differently from, you know, like, I'm sure there are lots of NGOs in Tanzania that people are just overworked, underpaid, you know, the usual. Or maybe not in Msichana, I'm sure. Or maybe you know, one of your actions might be review your salary scales if you think that's an issue. Because you have to be remunerated well, you need to have good benefits. If you want to be a professional organisation.
That's very true.
That's very true. We agree.
And are you that kind of organisation? Are you well paid, good benefits, don't work outside the hours, you're not, you know?
I think we are trying to be that organization, and we are aiming to be that organization. In instances that there are instances maybe due to the timing, due to what is ahead of us, we have to put in some little more extra hours.
Yeah.
And good thing is we have a policy that speaks on compensating for the extra hours that someone has worked. But it's not something that is being encouraged to work extra time or over the weekends.
It's not being encouraged.
Need.
Yeah.
So, but if there are times that calls for that, we do that. Yes. But it's not encouraged.
And that does happen sometimes. You know, at critical times in the year, or if a sudden issue comes up that you have to address. But it's making it not a regular, making sure it's not a regular thing, and if it is becoming regular, having those conversations. But I think as a team, you're now so equipped to have those conversations.
Yeah.
True.
That makes perfect sense.
So I think maybe you're presenting this tomorrow, aren't you?
Yes.
So I don't know. Do you want to do you want to review it a bit more now, like you just as a team?
Yeah, I think so. So as we can just finalize everything today. Like, don't spend any time.
I'm still concerned. In your plan for this session, was it just about discussing this, or did you have like other things?
No, I
that you
had
want-
another plan altogether.
You had other plans.
Yeah. So what we normally do in a closing conversation, but looking at time and what you have to present this tomorrow, and you have to be happy with what you're presenting tomorrow.
Mm.
So what we normally do, let me get my glasses on. We just go. It's just a reflection exercise of going through if you could describe. So we look back at the program and your topic, and if you would all describe yourself how you were when we came together in Nairobi last time. So just using words to describe yourself, and then describing yourselves now, so sort of looking at the change. And then we spend a bit of time looking at each of the development objectives and what progress you think you've made in each of those. And then I ask you a bit about, like what, which practice did you feel like worked the best for you? And then where do you think the sort of biggest shift was, and what you're proud of? And then where do you think you might have bumps as you go forward? So it's really a reflection session. I mean, we could agree to do it on Zoom in a week or two. Well, no, I can't do it in a week or two. I'd have to do it. And I don't know. So, well, when I share that with you, what do you think? Do you want to do that now, or do you want to get the plan?
I think we can
My
share.
suggestion, I was thinking of that we
Yeah, we can
could
do-
share, because possibly some of our reflections, for instance, we still have more questions, for instance,
Yeah.
could possibly inform our
This.
plan that we're going to submit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we have like more wording to this. It's more of just revising the wording to reflect, our own language.
Yeah.
We do not have like more of starting to reflect and
Change.
start to change.
Yeah.
So you can do that even if it is just in a very brief way.
Yeah.
Because when I look ahead of us, I feel like we have a quite packed weeks ahead, the rest of the year.
Towards the end of
Yeah,
the
but
year.
this is really important to reflect on how the
Yeah,
journey
and to
has
finish.
been. And finish.
And to close.
Yeah. So you can just
And also, your plan there, it's fine. You just need to tweak it a bit. But I really want you to think about how you're going to make it, like how are you really going to make it happen? Like, I don't think either of you here, any of you here would say, oh yeah, I'll lead this and make it happen.
No.
Yeah.
Nah.
So you've got to,
Consultant.
you really have to consider that.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of our, so let's remind ourselves your current way, the collaborative lioness, and then building on that with your new way of the open and candid eagle. And just to remember your topic, to be more able to engage in difficult conversations as the giver and receiver of feedback and information in a way that honours your feminist principles of solidarity, nurturing your individuality and celebrating your skills and knowledge. So when you think about that topic and think back to Nairobi when we were in that room last time, what words come up for you that describe you as you were related to that topic of difficult conversations? And you can think of describing yourself or the team. Yeah.
One word, just one word for me would be transforming, not transformed, transforming with
Transform.
ing.
Yeah.
With practicing NVC now, I will say yes, I'm practicing. What more has added, like I'm so proud of, is just the level of
No,
awareness.
we're not there yet. I
Okay.
just want the words for how you were in Nairobi last.
Okay, how
Yeah.
you were?
So transforming
So-
when you were in Nairobi.
Transforming is the me now.
Ah, okay. So what was the you or the group back then in May when we first met around this issue of having difficult conversations?
My mind keeps saying blind, blind, blind.
That's fine. Yeah,
So
let's
means
put it
like,
there.
I didn't know that it existed. So I should say I was less aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Anyone else?
I was a bit confused,
Confused.
but excited also. Confused, excited.
I think I was, and I think the team were less intentional on how we communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes, yes, maybe we were having those conversations, but I think it wasn't an intentional act
Yeah.
on how we carried those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Francis, anything?
So, my word right now is just trust. And then previous we were, I think that level of trust that we are having right now was not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to add to it, I was a bit misled on what difficult conversations were. Back then, I assumed difficult conversation just involve me pointing out what went wrong, me
Yeah.
like catching someone off guard or something. But I've just come to realize that difficult conversations isn't necessarily just pointing out the bad side of things,
Yeah.
rather than communicating clearly what you need to communicate in a non-violent way,
Yeah.
and ensuring that both parties are heard and have expressed their concerns in a positive way.
Yeah. So what other words would you use to describe yourself or the team now? Francis said trust. You're saying, a better understanding of what a difficult conversation is.
Yes, intentional.
Yeah, intentional. Yeah.
Another one I would say becoming.
Is what?
Becoming.
Yeah, becoming.
Yeah.
Any others?
Mine is, I see growth within ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I see more. I mean, I know this is my observation, and you can say whether this is accurate or not, but openness and vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think you've really been much more willing to show that. And it looks to me like it's made you closer with each other, or
Yeah.
more connected.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that you actually like each other. I mean, not that you didn't like each other, but you seem to like each other more.
Yeah, that closeness that we're speaking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and connection to a more deeper level. I think we
Yeah.
have that now. It's not at surface level.
And I think that makes you more compassionate towards each other, or more empathetic.
You're right. that embrace that you have embracing the grace in learning?
Embracing?
Grace in learning.
Yeah. That's true, the grace in learning. Yeah, so if we look at the development objectives, the first one was to be more able to be vulnerable with each other in the office without judgment of yourself or others, and prepare yourselves to receive the vulnerability of others. So I wonder how far you think you've come in that development objective. Are you cooked? Are you ready to go? Is there still work to be done?
Maybe I should share my perspective.
Yeah.
My word was becoming, meaning I or as a team we are not where we were in November or in May.
Yeah.
But of course, we still need to work on the shadow.
Yes.
While still becoming, sometimes you might be like, change is painful, say,
Yeah.
like when you're trying to stretch yourself,
Yeah.
sometimes you might be tempted to go back to your old way of being because that's comfortable.
Exactly.
So I might practice today and tomorrow, but then because I don't want that stretch, the next day I'll be like, maybe let me just embrace that. But now it's a bit different because I have that level of consciousness that, you need to go back and work on that. You need to go back. So I'm not comfortable in being comfortable in my old way of being.
Right, yeah. So you're not comfortable there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even if you do go back and you feel comfortable there, it's about reminding yourself. You know, I think a lot of people have mentioned the backsliding thing
Yeah.
today. So, you know, how do you sort of guard against that? Yeah, so anything else on that development objective, the first one about vulnerability? I think you picked that one up in the first session and you just ran with it. And you just went for it. And created spaces where you can share with each other. But yeah, how do you sustain it? Do you think you have the structures in place to sustain that?
So I think maybe the initiation we had with the management maybe outings, where we just connect with each other, not on that high professional level. We
Yeah.
maybe just go for lunch, talk, and just be close, connect on a human level.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that is a strategy that will aid us to get closer and
Yeah.
maybe even feel more comfortable to be vulnerable around each other. But I had something in mind, so this is just my perspective, that when it comes to vulnerability, we are so much aware about it now, and I think we have cracked that an awkwardness on practicing vulnerability, that it's not something that will take me an arm and a leg to practice it, because we have cracked that an awkwardness. But I think we still have to be more practical about it. We are there, but not there yet, I think. I think we are there in terms of awareness and feeling okay to be vulnerable, but in terms of the practice, I think it's something that we need to pull up ourselves. We are not maybe saying there yet. So it's
And
something
how
we need to
might you make sure that you keep going with the practice, and because somebody has to take responsibility for that.
I think now the initiative that we have, it can be a catalyst, because it brings us closer and we feel like we are together. So it can be a catalyst to to practicing it, and I think maybe individually we need to see how we can do better. I
Yeah.
think from my perspective, I think we need to see how we can do better.
Looking at the way that we are also busy with our schedules, the organization, I was kind of resistant to say or to just propose bringing more structures in place to ensure that we are enforcing the actions or the plans that we are having for the sake of so many things are coming on our tables,
Yeah.
and even crazy as years continues to come, we could just see it even with our structure, with our strategic plan and all that.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important, very, very important to have like 3 layers of that structure. The 3 layers of bringing the NVCs into practice.
Yeah.
The first layer is the layer where we are meeting all as the 5 of us.
Yeah.
Management team.
Yes, but the second layer is when we are meeting at individual levels
Yeah.
and share. Then the third one, where we are meeting us without our leader, I mean our executive director.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, but that is just my thinking on how we can navigate through. But I think it's very important, despite the fact that we are having a lot of things on our table.
Yeah.
But that structure, if we want to do it perfect, that structure should be in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were bringing it into existing meetings, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you'd had a big discussion at your staff retreat of how you were going to institutionalize some of these things. I mean, I think you're doing it.
We are really trying.
We are trying.
Yeah.
We are trying.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's the thing, you're trying. That's really critical. And then it's about seeing how it helps you more, because really you're doing it because you want to work more effectively so that you can help more, I don't know whether it's more girls or a number of girls more deeply or whatever it is, or, you know, keeping in mind why are you doing the work. You know, always keeping the girl as your thing that you're working to change the structures around for her. And yeah, thinking about what do you need to be able to do that best. So let's look at the second objective, which was to better notice and understand where people in the office may be overloaded or stressed. Are we better at that than we were? Noticing when other people are overloaded or stressed?
I think I
In my
practiced
perspective, I
one.
think yes, we do notice.
Yeah.
Okay, we do notice, but sometimes you find, okay, I've noticed that Sarah is overwhelmed, but you find that I'm unable to jump in and help
Yeah.
because I'm also overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I will share one of the circumstances that is very recent, last week or last 2 weeks, I think. I observed that Francis was quite packed with M&E work at field, and yet he had to be in the office for some proposal as to be submitted earlier.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't jump in, one, because I cannot evaluate myself. I'm program team,
Yeah.
I'm part of the program team, and he's the one who is evaluating us.
Yeah.
so I couldn't jump in because I'm part of the program. But secondly, even if I wouldn't be part of the program, I wouldn't jump in because they're also quite packed.
Yeah.
So we tried to look in the cycle, like we had this conversation with Francis, trying to see who can chip in and help.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, everyone that we're trying to think of was quite packed.
Yeah.
So at least we have that level of consciousness and understanding, but it was hard. Of course, he wrote an email to ED to explain the scenario, and okay, the solution wasn't like
What we expected.
yeah, but at least we are there. Like
Yeah.
we notice each other that someone hasn't taken their leaves. They need to.
Yeah.
We need to find solutions. At least we are not comfortable in seeing someone being overloaded, and we are not able to chip in and help.
So the next thing is really finding how do we've noticed, we see it happening, and now we need to collectively take actions that will change the situation. Because you're trying to find solutions, but still there don't seem to be solutions available. So I think that has to be a conversation for the senior management team. Like, it's all well and good to see that it's happening, but if we can't change the situation, it's almost better not to have seen it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
because you're feeling the pain and you're not able to do anything about it. Whereas before it was only Francis who was feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So that's your next step, isn't it? Like, yeah, and that has to be discussed, all of you together. Like,
True.
yeah.
It is called transformation. Not
Yeah.
Transformed. It ends with ing.
For a purpose.
So I wonder if that, if there's anything in that do you want to try and work on some, I mean, I don't know the solution to that actually, but I wonder if that goes into the plan.
I wanted to also add on what Foreign has just said.
Yeah.
Of course, I practiced the stress assessment or something like a practice.
Yeah.
I conducted it when there was a time when I was taking the role of Foreign when she was out of office. I don't know if it was for a leave or something else, but I think it was for a leave. Where I also had to see the resources that we are having in the office
Yeah.
and the number of people at the program team who are feeling like they are overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and how can I be able to distribute the entire activities or programs or works that were ahead of us. Just to realize we have had some interns recruited with us.
Yeah.
There were some who were complete, having no anything to do in the office, but there are others who were like, even if you are asking them to help you with a certain task, they don't have that space.
Yeah.
So I think we were able to manage that pressure at that level, but again, as Efrain has said, returning that aspect to the management level, especially with the work each one of us is, I wouldn't say dedicated to do or to perform
Yeah.
at their level. It's very difficult to jump in and supporting Esther while you are having a load
Exactly.
on your plate.
So
So I think, as you were saying, maybe maybe we're supposed to sit and look and how we can do at the management level.
Have you gone through an organizational development assessment program?
Is that OCA?
Yes.
Yeah,
That
I think
kind
we
of
have done
thing,
it.
yeah.
we
We've
just
done it.
did
You have done it.
last
Mm.
month.
And what did what did you see about people's workloads and Did anything come up around that?
Did you have
And
a
Yes.
question around
capacity
that?
to-
Yes,
Did you
I-
have a question around that?
No, I think
Oh.
some of the reflection, especially on the admin part, were on the staff turnovers, on the workload, but it I don't know, it just gave us a number of maybe the systems in place, the numbers of, especially the software system in place, and the policies in place which are not there, that we need to adapt, but it could not just give us the result in terms of maybe if we want to add some new people in the team, or except for one person on the education background, I think something like that.
I wanted to say, I think the prospective succession plan training and all that is associated with it could be part of
Yeah.
the solution, because now we'll identify what happens when Francis is not there. Because as just Fran has just said, as our roles are sometimes too technical, maybe he might have an ample time, but then I am doing financial statements.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what can I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe the succession plan identify who can help, where maybe can give us an insight on how to.
But it's also not just about when that person is out of the office.
Oh, when
Because that was the succession planning thing. It's like when that person is not available to work, how do we fill that gap? But what we've just talked about is on a day-to-day basis. How often are we getting overloaded? Where's the overload happening most? How is it happening? What might we need to change so that it doesn't happen so often? But it's part of the same thing, but I think you need to capture that as well. Like day to day, are our workloads too heavy? Or are some staff like you say, some interns overwork, some not so much. So how can you observe that? And you could get a consultant in to, review that and then develop a plan. It would need your time to be involved in the discussions and whatever, but sometimes you have to use that time to then solve the problem, otherwise you just keep
Repeating the same thing.
I think that's important conversation to have. Now that we're sharing about it, I remember, Francis, we once had this conversation when we were clarifying our values and team culture. So we had a question around what entails teamwork.
Yeah.
Because let's say we are having our annual report, we just say, Team Msichana is doing a good job. But possibly we do not recognize that communication team, it was only Sarah who was doing all the job around communication.
Yeah.
But when we are saying Msichana is doing a good job, we recognize Furahini, who was possibly only preparing for meetings, let's say, preparing for meetings and ensuring that everyone is comfortable in that meeting. So maybe we need to have a conversation to really clarify what does teamwork means, and maybe see how often do we get overloaded, because I hope it happens everywhere. Sometimes people get overloaded, but if it happens like every week, like once in every week, maybe there is a work to do around that, either to reduce the work plans maybe, or maybe to recruit more staff. We don't know what might that conversation bring about.
And sometimes if that conversation is facilitated by somebody external, it makes it easier for you to commit to it, and then that external person can maybe provide recommendations that come from you because you're the ones who are feeling it, but it's kind of different if it's somebody outside who's saying, this is what I've seen and observed from our conversations, and these are my recommendations. But the OCA that you did, was it facilitated?
Yes.
Yes.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but maybe they just didn't do much on workload, or maybe it
Maybe
just
their
wasn't
tool
included.
was.
Yeah, exactly, the tool didn't go
Yeah.
into that.
Mm.
Okay, but that's maybe something to consider.
Yeah.
The third development objective, to prepare for and take part in conversations that may be difficult and reflect on this process and what comes out of the conversations for you and the other people, or the other person or people. So I think you did quite a lot, you tried a lot of difficult conversations.
Yes.
It's just practice, that one, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more of practice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So I'm conscious of time, so let's just ask a final question of when you look at your topic, which was about being in difficult conversations, giving and receiving feedback, what are the things that might get in the way for you, or potential bumps in the road, as you try and sustain the progress that you've made?
I'll say changes it's just difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
It is comfortable to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might come with the way it's just wanting to be comfortable. But
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Esther because it's just stretching myself beyond what I could do. So the way to navigate around it is just practice. Do it anyways.
Yeah.
Mm. So for me, I could say, no matter how cooked you are as a leader, you are not supposed to be comfortable. You have to learn.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're comfortable, then
Mm.
you might get unmotivated, or just,
Yeah.
and your organisation needs very motivated people.
Mm.
What about you, Francis?
So the question is, what was bouncing us back, right?
It's what might get in the way
What might get
of
in the-
you continuing to make progress.
Okay. I think as Dada Frame said, the continuing practicing difficult conversation will just be a solution to that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Esther?
I agree with that because I feel
Yeah.
like in terms of us being equipped to do so, us being aware and receptive of all that, we are already there. So it's just us taking the step and doing it.
Mm.
And do you all feel more able to have difficult conversations with Rebecca now than before?
I feel so.
You do?
I think I'm also very more comfortable.
Yeah, more comfortable.
And
Yeah.
and now that she was also part of the program, even isn't for me, because I always start with, okay, I want to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
And then you can see even her face will light up a bit.
Yeah.
Then it's easy to talk about whatever that I want to share.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you are looking at Sarah.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're starting to
you've got
talk.
to look at Sarah, then I will jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I could say I have already done it, but I don't know if it is a difficult conversation or what, because there is a day where I faced my boss and told her, like, you know what, when you are coming to the office with this kind of mood, sometimes I feel
Threatened.
yeah, to come out to your office and talk
Yeah.
to you. And she was like, why? And I told her, like, I'm afraid to come to you
Yeah.
and talk about my work. So I decided to sit down and see your mood swing, what is going on. And then later, if I see you smiling, I come to you. So from that conversation, she answered me like, you can come anytime and talk to me. You know, I'm a human being, I have a lot of things. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it is a difficult or what, but I tried. And
I think it's something maybe you wouldn't have
Yeah.
done in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
Now you might not find it difficult, but
Mhm.
ask you in February.
Yeah.
It was something you wouldn't have
done
done.
it.
Very
at
true,
all.
very true, yeah.
And she may not have been aware that
Mm.
how she was presenting herself was
Yeah.
making you feel like that.
Yeah.
So it's so useful as a leader to hear from the people you work with some of the things that you make difficult for them, because she just might not know. So that's really helping each other. Francis, did you have something?
Yeah, I think from the practice that we have had, facing her directly and talk to her on a certain topic, maybe which I feel like it's hard to talk to her. The recent, I've just noticed a better way of navigating, though it were not supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
But I've just discovered a better way of navigating. It's when I just bring in all my expertise, grounded from where I am specializing,
Yeah.
and then telling her the black and white. If we want to go to that direction, then that might mean this and that might mean this.
Yeah.
To just give her space to see around what she can do.
Yeah.
But I think I've just said what is black and what is white.
I have something to
Yeah.
add. There's some circumstance where it happened, and I remember that day I, Francis, and Rebecca, we were together, and then Rebecca was like, you know what, I don't like this kind of decoration, I don't like the chair, it's so dead, and you know, such kind of ways. And then Francis was like, Rebecca, you know what? Sarah did the best. She tried a lot to make these things to happen. We have to be grateful no matter what happened, and you know. So, and I looked at Rebecca's face. She was like, okay, but I was trying to, you know, it was not easy, but yeah.
But that's very supportive
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying from that example that Sarah is bringing is that it's very difficult to just facing her, speaking to her,
Yeah.
difficult conversation. But if you are bringing it from the angle of your expertise,
Yeah.
it will be easier for her to just see like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the point of view, and this is the point. This is my point of view. So this one I'm being supported, or I'm being guided from the expertise point of view. So if I am taking my way, then it's okay because I've decided to do that.
Exactly.
So one thing I've also learned is sometimes I was just having this, I would say, fear of unknown, because possibly she was also even not seeing herself in the way that I was perceiving her.
Exactly.
Because a few times that I've approached her with the difficult conversation, you find it was just very easy. Then after that conversation, I'll be like, then why are you struggling to have this conversation? It was just easy, and she just give you like a straightforward answer, and it's okay with her. And then sometimes I realize that I was the one who was bringing myself back. It's not even her, and the power that she holds.
That's so true, actually, that it's our own issues, not the other person. A lot of the time, the things that we're worrying about.
So I just wanted to say something. So with difficult conversations, something I've noted, or I keep learning is also what will determine how the conversation will go is the tone and the respect you show towards the conversation. Because sometimes it might be picking up an area, something that maybe went wrong, someone else did wrong or something. But how you talk to the person will determine. The non-violent communication is really, really important. It's something that I'm learning. That sometimes you may be communicating something that but how you put it and how you show that it's just this thing. It's not anything me against you. It's just the matter, not us. It aids the conversation to be more.
I love what Dada Esther's just said. Reviewing what was happening like some two weeks past with my colleague in the office. There was a bit line between us quarreling and us explaining to each other what is it that I am bringing in the table as an issue. So it was about if I explain more, then people will know. So I'm scaring to put that out that way, but
Just say
it was just me just saying like this is an issue, but how you are receiving it, it's like you are thinking that I am attacking you, like the physical you. That's why we are seeing that like we are facing some I don't know if I say we are struggling with the same conversation all that big time we have been having it. So I think as Dada Esther has just advised us to really ensure that we are putting an issue on the table and to ensure that the other counterpart don't feel like you have an intention of attacking their personalities. It's very, very important. Because I remember at the end of our conversation, she was like, okay, I didn't know if that was the whole point of you saying that, but at first I just thinking that you are attacking my personality, my identity.
And that's how quarrels, it's normally when somebody is feeling attacked, then they defend, and that's when it becomes difficult and personal and not very constructive.
Instead of solving the conflict,
Exactly.
you are exploring issues.
So we could talk forever, but we have babies to feed and bodies to rest. So I think we should call it a day. I think it's been really useful for me to reflect with you, to see what you feel you've got from the process. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to work with you. I'll be talking about Msichana initiative wherever I go, because your work is exceptional, and as a team you're also exceptional. So
thank you.
play with you.
And thank you
so
for
much.
playing with us. You've
Yeah.
been quite helpful and
Very helpful.
very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Whatever the journey we've been together has been very eye-opening. Thanks to you, you've been patient with us. Maybe there are times in the early sessions we didn't come so much prepared, but you've been patient with us. You've walked with us through the journey, and we feel confident with all these
Good.
practices.
Yeah.
Like we are good to go. Yeah, even in the times where we want to continue with the session. So thanks to you.
So
You've
welcome.
been
And
so,
thank you.
so helpful.
And thank you so much for giving me the confidence of speaking my English. Before I was very afraid of talking.
Really?
Yeah. Because of the session, everybody have need to participate. So you need to talk no matter
Yeah.
what. And I see a lot of improvement.
Yeah, I
Even
would
my
never
staff
have-
can say that.
I would
True.
never
Yeah.
have known that
That's
was a
very true.
problem for you
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
Wow. And feel free to reach out. If there's something, if there's, like Christine said, if there's something you want advice on, or or just to bounce something with me, or if you're backsliding. What do we do? We're backsliding. Things have gone. Please just feel. You have my email. You can contact me at any time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you.
So maybe
You're a great coach.
Very
Thank
great
you.
one.
You're a great coach. Yeah.
That goes
Very
without saying. So maybe just to make sure that we have understood what you just said, in terms of the action plan,
Yeah.
as it seems to be very, very, very congested, and it has a lot of things that it needs from us with the teammates. What you're advising us is to really figuring out how we can incorporate consultant fees.
Yes. Or you can decide how you want to do it. If one of you wants to take on the responsibility to lead that, then you have to find resources. Hear me out. You have to find resources for somebody else to do the work that you'll have to leave, so that you can do that. The slight problem with getting a consultant, still the consultant, somebody has to manage the consultant and make sure the consultant delivers. So there will still be a time element for somebody in it. And it's balancing getting an outside perspective in a consultant and having the internal knowledge if you do it yourselves. So I can't advise you, also because I'm a 9, an Enneagram 9, so I always see both sides. Both sides have their pluses and their minuses, and I think you just have to decide as an organisation what would be best for us, what would work best. And if you don't have the time to do it now, just allow the learning from this to settle from this journey that you've been on. You don't have to, the action plan feels a bit like, I don't know, this is my advice, but I'm just feeling like it's like, don't stop, you've got to keep moving, and that's Joyce's way, which is fine, and it's the program's way. It's a very action-oriented program, but sometimes it is good to just say, you know what,
We need
Breathe in,
to
breathe out.
fantasize.
can we just breathe a bit?
Yes.
And I think it's okay. You could say, you know what, until the end of the year, we're not doing anything. In January, we're going to start considering these things.
True.
It's okay to say those things if that's what you want.
True.
You have young babies on the team, you have babies on their way. You know, it's okay to just say we're But that's for you to
To
decide.
Yeah.
And you
That's
don't
what
have
makes
to
it
decide it tonight. We've had a long day, and you can still present that, because also you might want, you need some resources. You never say no to resources.
Mm.
But as long as those resources are going to be useful to you and not cause you more issues.
Yeah.
Mm.
True.
So I don't know, the only thing I'm thinking about, if you have good capacity at your mid-level, it might even be something that you might consider giving someone at your mid-level to lead. I don't know what your capacity is like, but looking at your capacity at your level, if there's not a huge gap down to your middle level, then you must have competency there. Also, I don't know your structure, your organisational structure, but it doesn't have to all fall on your shoulders because you're the senior management team. You can delegate,
Yeah.
but it will need some oversight. I've given you more questions than answers, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it
That's
has
okay.
perspectives
Yeah.
and
Help us to
options.
think
Yeah.
much better.
True.
So should I leave you here, or you want to go and rest for a bit, or you can do whatever? You
Thank
probably
you.
need to go.
Let's finish.
It's 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Let's just finish.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
10 minutes.
Let me
will be
leave
done.
you. Yeah.
Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
before you leave, I think we should take a selfie. Or social media.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kesho.
Au tupige kesho, sisi tumechoka.
Kesho, unajua kesho ni busy day.
No, Kesho we can do.
We can
The
do
break
Break
tomorrow.
time.
time, like
Yeah,
the tea
yeah.
break time.
Oh,
Yeah.
alright, okay.
Yeah, my day tomorrow is I think I'm just